Here we are in James Rosenquist's studio in Aripeka, Florida, March 2002, talking about Rosenquist's new public sculpture for St. Petersburg. This is your first work in public sculpture. How did you come to this, and where does it fit into your work?
I was invited down to the hospital to the babies wards by Dennis Sexton, and there was about 100 babies with all sorts of difficulties. So, I mean, unimaginable birth defects and every other thing. So some seemed to me that some parents had to pay a lot of money to get their child out of the hospital in the first place, and then a lot of it was welfare work, but then one realizes how lucky you are if you have a child that comes out relatively normal. And so I thought, golly, you know, how fortunate I was, and so many other people are. And then the magical work that they do down at this hospital, and about that time they repaired, I think, a Peruvian girl who her head looked like a Matisse sculpture with a nose that went all the way across her face and everything. And they fixed her up and they made her look like a human being that could fit into society. She looked pretty good. So apparently this new lab building, they wanted to identify it. So I thought, well, I'll try and think of something. This is a parallelogram here, a little bit, tiny. Right. This is just a these are all rectangles. Oh boy. We should be sort of flat to the building, so it's not sketch.
That's a little bit too far forward.
Way up too high. Also now, seeing that there, I'm thinking maybe a teeny bit smaller.
But
so
flat?
Go back to
the whole piece. The whole piece.
Go back to the drawing board and making it a teeny bit smaller. Not much, which might cut the weight, might cut everything, but just
How do you guys see the process kind of working from here?
I think it would be good if we had, Richie had, Jim had, a sense of what engineering limitations and efforts that might affect the aesthetics of this piece are going to be necessary for this. In other words, if we're talking about a structure that's going to be visually disconcerting here, I'd like to see that talked about today, so we know that going in.
Well, not to speak for you, Jim, I remember him saying last week, I think he'd like to see those things as tucked as far inboard as possible so that when you look up to it, you don't see the struts. Right?
We build something in here, we could put an eye here with a cable and a turnbuckle for the hurricanes that we never want to see.
Right.
You know, to catch it from.
there it is up in the air. More imagery on the bottom.
Yeah, no, I just wanted him to get an idea of
But the color is good for the skin on people. Because it is good because, hey, we're all tan down here in Florida except me. But anyway, the brick, it works good on that building. The building is dirty or darker, and that looks like fresher skin. Hey.
So Richie, these are the blanks for the beginning of the Band-Aid, right?
Yes, these are the initial panels for the raised section, the thicker, stronger section that'll be exposed to the wind.
And then the panels actually are sandwiched right onto the frame, eh?
Yes. Yes, the one panel is assembled in the rear. Has the frame already embedded into it.
And we're looking at it upside down, correct?
Yes, that's correct. The whole structure is upside down. This is the face that'll go up against the building.
All right, here's where I want to be convinced that at 7 floors up, nothing's going to fall off here.
Nope, not going to come off.
Okay. I mean, this is attached bolted to what on this side? This is
Bolted onto an aluminum flat bar.
okay.
It's welded to this frame that you cannot see inside, that you see here on the drawing.
Okay.
See, what I did was start with square tubing. It's all welded together, and then these flat straps in here, 3/8 aluminum, 3/8x4, and they're all, it's welded here, 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 and here.
Okay.
All right. And then the bolts are fastened from the inside. They come from the inside out. What are we standing around for? I was going to bring it into the glass doors, but well. You got it this side.
I'm curious also about the scale of this sculpture because, of course, this type of bandage is a small, very ordinary, familiar object, but it becomes enormous when transformed into a sculpture. And this transformation of scale gives it a degree of familiarity, but also a degree of the unusual. So this is one reason I think we recognize it quite easily. And an interesting feature.
When I was a billboard painter in Times Square, and I got down in the middle of Times Square to look at my work, it was like my gallery there. If I was painting a bottle of Coca-Cola or something like that, I'd go down and have a Coca-Cola, or painting a can of beer. A big can of beer, say 3 stories tall. Then I go down in the middle of Times Square and check out my work with a can of beer. And the can in my hand was the same size as the can on the wall in distance, and like it snapped. The distance between the big sign and my can of beer disappeared. And maybe that's some power of advertising using large imagery at a distance.
It's starting to look like my original thumbnail sketch.
Now, the symbols up here, are they specific symbols or are they just representing?
One is the musical cleft. There you even have a Star of David of this 0 through 9 in this archaic lettering. So it's just fun, you know. It's a dry surface. Yeah, it's 3 parts paint to 1 part resin. Amazing this.
Yeah, no. Might be.
For picking it up with the crane?
Well, for picking it up with the crane to mount it on the building,
Yeah.
we'll be picking it up here
So there are a lot of
with the rings there.
So there really isn't much by way of padding then.
Because when they install it, this whole thing is going to be picked this way, and then come straight up off the building that way.
I got a spot right there I can get out of the way.
Vince, you can't see the braces.
But there seems to be a kind of signage element to it. It also, on a symbolic level, it stands in for the idea of hospital or research hospital.
I was hoping for that, so the children coming off the highway would say, "Mommy, Mommy, look, look, that's where we go. That's where we're going to get healed up there. Look at that." And many children, even if they have a irritation or nothing on their hands, they'll have their mother put on a little bandage on it to make them feel psychologically better. So that was really one reason for doing a 30-foot long by 9-foot bandage being pulled up off the building, revealing a rainbow instead of the leftover sore. And on the white pad is the dried blood of a sore, but then where it's pulled up, there's a rainbow. Now, if people get that or not, I think it still looks interesting.